All right, we got a little late night edition of Chicago Bears now. It's right about midnight as we're filming this, so technically Monday, January 6th by the time you watch this. Black Monday is here in the NFL. We will see what other coaches and potentially GMs get fired today and over the next couple of days, including Ryan Poles. I think he's probably safe, but we'll see where that goes. We'll have some other Bears news and notes toward the end of the show, but I do want to kind of make the focus of tonight's show about Ben Johnson. Strong statement by him, strong statement by the Lions with their 31-9 win over the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Detroit earns the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Vikings fall to the 5 seed. So a lot of talk about Ben Johnson, what this means for his interview timeline, so on and so forth. But before we get to that, I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I have now done 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. This is now my 5th full season in the books here on the channel. Over 5 years covering this team, and I've come to love this team and become a diehard fan. And I couldn't do it without all of you. From 0 subscribers to 112,000 and change. Look, this season sucked. 5-12, not what we thought, not what we hoped for. First time a head coach fired midseason, offensive coordinator fired midseason. But it ended on such a high and fun note today. To beat the Packers, to walk them off, for Cairo Santos to get redemption, for Caleb Williams to drive them down with a couple big-time throws late yet again, including to DJ Moore. It's something to build on. It gives me hope. It gives me excitement for the future. I hope you guys feel the same way as well. It's one game. How much does it mean? Will that carry over into the offseason? It's hard to know. What I do know is when we get to next season, we don't have to talk about this getting this monkey off the Bears' back, being the Green Bay Packers. So thank you guys for all the love and support this season. If you haven't already, subscribe. Coverage just beginning here on this channel. Doesn't stop for us. Season may be over, but it just gets going for us. Coaching search ahead. Then we'll have free agency. Then the draft. Then we'll get going again. And all of a sudden, it'll be a new season. But hour by hour, day by day, that's the approach here, and couldn't do it without all of you. And if you haven't subbed already and want to join the channel for free, we would appreciate it. All right, maybe, just maybe, we watch the next Bears head coach tonight. 3 candidates on that field, and Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, and Aaron Glenn. Again, focusing on Johnson here. This was a bizarre game. Early on, the defenses were ruling the day. It was 10-6 at halftime. It was 17-9 entering the fourth quarter. But I think even though this wasn't a clinic by Detroit offensively, in some ways I was more impressed with Ben Johnson tonight than I have been in some of those games where it was clinical and it did look easy. Because look, Brian Flores is a hell of a coach. The Vikings have a really good defense. They challenged Detroit tonight. Now, Sam Darnold and that Vikings offense were a mess. That's a different story for a different day. If you want more analysis on that, check out my other channel on 4 Verts. He really struggled, but in terms of the chess match, it was a good battle for a while. And I thought Johnson kind of found something on that drive late in the third quarter, mid-late third quarter, a long 7-8 minute drive where they scored on the 4th and 2, the little angle route, Jahmyr Gibbs in the red zone. They run it a lot. Flores blitzed. He threw the angle behind him, got the good matchup on Van Ginkel. They scored a touchdown, and that kind of extended the lead for good. They ended up adding 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But, Nick Saban said this years ago. When things aren't always going your way, when it's key plays in the game, think players, not plays. Bears did that today. 3rd and 11, got to get into field goal range, got to have it. Thomas Brown dials up a one-on-one situation, Caleb Williams to DJ Moore. And that's something to build on moving forward. Got him into field goal range, kick the field goal. Sure, the concept has something to do with it, but it's how can you isolate your best player or one of your best players and get a favorable matchup? And that's what Ben Johnson started to do tonight. Who was his best player tonight? Jahmyr Gibbs. So what did he do? Jared Goff was kind of having an average night. We're going to just pepper Gibbs. We're going to run Gibbs. And look, easier said than done when you have that offensive line and so on and so forth. But he thought player on that 4th down play. Let's get Gibbs in space on Van Ginkel. That's a mismatch. Down the stretch, let's put these guys away. Let's run Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 4 touchdowns tonight. I'm not saying the Bears have a Jahmyr Gibbs, but what I'm saying is I was impressed with Ben Johnson tonight because I thought the Lions had a B- offensive game. You look up, they put up 31 points on Brian Flores and the Vikings, which are a very, very good and well-coached defense. Like, even when they're not at their best and Goff isn't at his best, he can still find answers. Now, again, he's not going to have, especially in his first year in Chicago, the level of offensive arsenal, especially with the offensive line in Chicago that he has in Detroit. He's had, on average, the number 2 best offense in the NFL 3 years in a row. But could this be a top half of the league offense next year? Could he have like the 13th best offense? And then another year of building, Caleb getting older, and you continue, and 2-3 years down the road, you have a top 5, top 7 offense? I think that's possible. And I think you saw again today in a game where the Bears had a weird game plan. Caleb was just okay. They ran a lot of screens, but when it mattered, he made some big plays. He made some big-time throws. We've seen him do it. Say what you want about Caleb Williams. Fourth quarter, game on the line, he's made a lot of plays this year. You see it in there. It's inconsistent right now. It was all over the place. He seems very motivated to hit the ground running this offseason. He's talked about that this week. I think he's starting to grow into a leadership role. I think that's another step for him as well, heading into year 2. But he needs the right coach in the right direction to help him get there, not only as a leader, but as a player, as a quarterback in this league. And I think Ben Johnson's the right guy to do it. Now, if you don't get him, do you have no shot? No, there's other guys out there, but I think you got to throw the kitchen sink at this guy if you're Chicago. And by the way, with the Bears, or with the Lions winning tonight, they have a first-round bye, which means both he and Aaron Glenn can interview this week virtually with teams. I would imagine both are going to get interview requests. Both are going to take interviews this week. I would interview both if I was the Bears. Obviously, I'm way more interested in Ben Johnson, but Aaron Glenn's a good head coaching candidate. I don't think he's the right guy for this job right now. I think the Saints probably make more sense, just based on their personnel and what they typically go for. And just the Bears need to go offense. But I would interview him too. I thought he did a hell of a job tonight. It confused Sam Darnold all night. But the point being is request an interview for this guy. Hopefully he accepts. And please put your best foot forward. Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, assuming he's still running this thing, as far as that goes. More thoughts on Ben Johnson and some other Bears news and notes to get to here in just a second. But do want to thank our season-long sponsor, Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in North America with 10 million users and counting is Prize Picks, available in more than 30 states. You should be one of those customers. Check your status in your state. If you're able to play, get signed up with Prize Picks right now at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you sign up and play for just $5. Set a $5 lineup. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. You are going to get a $50 bonus straight into your account. All you do is select 2 or more players on 2 or more different teams, regardless of sport. You can cross over sports in your lineups. You could have a basketball, hockey, and football player in a 3-man lineup if you want to. Pick more, pick less on tons of stat projections available, like points, rebounds, assists, yards, rushing yards, touchdowns. Tons of stats out there. Pick more, pick less. 2 to 6 player lineups available with Prize Picks. And right now you can win up to 1,000 times your entry on certain lineups. You could turn $10 into 10,000. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get that $50 bonus when you sign up. Check out Prize Picks today. Daily fantasy made easy. Okay. Some last thoughts on Ben Johnson and this coaching search as a whole. Then we'll talk about some other news and notes. I think this is easily the most impressive win of the year for Detroit. And again, I laid out the reasons for Johnson. Goff was just average, but he relied on Jahmyr Gibbs and kept going back to that well, and that was a good decision. To kick the Vikings' ass 31-9, that's pretty impressive. I was actually leaning Minnesota tonight. Lions on a short week. They emptied the tank on Monday night against San Francisco in a game they didn't need to. Come back, and they just beat the Vikings' ass. I mean, it was really impressive. And look, can we say for sure what kind of head coach Ben Johnson is going to be? No. You never know until you bring him in, especially for a first-time guy. But I think he is easily the most qualified offensive guy. He knows this division. He's seen Caleb up in personal twice, and Caleb, by the way, played well both times against Detroit. I just think this is the guy. Are we going to talk about other candidates? Of course. Are there going to be other interviews? Absolutely. Can you put all your eggs in this basket? Not all of them, because you got to at least be considering the possibility that A, he goes back to Detroit, or B, he takes another job like Jacksonville. But throw the kitchen sink, empty the tank at this guy. Does that mean you have to pivot off Ryan Poles? I don't know. There's been conflicting reports on that. Would he work with him? Does he not want to? Does he want to bring in his own guy? Who knows? We know he's going to be selective. He's going to have just as many questions about the Bears as they do about him, I would imagine. So put your best foot forward. Don't screw this up. You see the potential you have with this quarterback. You saw the fight in that Bears football team today. Like, they deserve credit. 10 losses in a row. At times, the effort seemed to wane. They wanted that today. That meant something. Don't tell me beating the Packers doesn't matter. Oh, Harrison, we could have the 7th or 8th pick, not the 10th. Who cares, man? I'm tired of talking about, well, if you would have lost this game, you'd have this pick. We've done that for 2-3 years now. Like, you've had that. You've built up. You have 3 picks in the top 41. You're fine on draft capital. So, and by the way, just in terms of draft pick, you do have the 10th pick, 39th, 41st, and I think 72nd. So 4 in the top 72, 3 in the top 41. So that's that news. Ryan Poles, gut tells me he's still here. Reporting suggests he's going to be back. The Bears have not released a statement saying that's the case, whereas you've seen the Colts and the Dolphins come out and release statements after Week 18. We're bringing back our head coach and GM. Now, you could say Kevin Warren already did that in that presser after firing Matt Eberflus, so to do it again would be redundant, and maybe that's a fair thought. But if you're in the camp of maybe, just maybe, they're still evaluating him, well, they didn't release any kind of statement today, so we'll have to wait and see. I'll say this. The Bears released a video from the locker room after their win in Detroit, or in Green Bay today, and I thought it was a cool moment. Caleb gave a mini speech to the team, gave Thomas Brown the game ball. That was cool. A couple other guys talked. Kevin Warren was close to front and center. Ryan Poles, I did not see anywhere in that video. Now, that could mean a million things. He could have been doing something else. He could have been doing this, doing that. I'll say this. In the other locker room videos that the team released this year and the few wins they did have, Poles was in all of those. So make that what you will. I don't know if there's much to make of it. I guess we'll find out more tomorrow. I think he'll be here, but I just want them to get this right. And if Poles being here gets in the way of getting the guy you want, even if that's not Ben Johnson, if you want someone else and Poles being here is a problem, then that's an issue. That's an issue, because while I don't think he's horrible, I don't think he's good enough and hit often enough to just be like, well, yeah, screw our top 3 candidates. We're keeping Ryan Poles. Like, I don't think you can operate that way. By the way, some other coaching, Black Monday nuggets. Mentioned Colts and Dolphins are bringing their head coach and GM back. Gerard Mayo got fired. A lot of chatter that Mike Vrabel to New England. It could and very well will happen. He played there, got inducted into their Ring of Honor last year. He changed his Twitter profile yesterday to him when he was a linebacker there, which if they hire him, I feel like the league's going to look into them for tampering, but that's a whole different story. But look, if you're the Bears and you're interested in Vrabel, you better get on the horn and interview this guy. And this is why they should have interviewed him this past week. Like, get him in the building and interview him. Now, look, maybe you don't get him, maybe you do, maybe he's not even your top guy, but that's a guy you need to be interviewing. No doubt about it. No questions asked. The Bears are going to give a formal interview to Thomas Brown. Look, good for TB to get that win today. He did some weird shit in the game, but certainly emptied the playbook, which is something I asked for, maybe a little too much. But look, he got put in a tough spot. For him to beat the Packers, that's pretty awesome. He did something Matt Eberflus never did, and that was beat Green Bay. So good for him. I liked some of the messaging in that locker room video we saw. He told the guys, regardless of what happens, like, if you ever need me, call me, text me, I'm here for you. Like, he's a good dude, a good leader. I think he's a good football coach. I don't think he's quite ready to be a head coach. I still think there's some traits there where he could be in the future. And hey, he's not even 40 yet. So I wish him the best. If he's back on this staff in some capacity, great. I would be floored if he got this job. I think they're doing it out of a courtesy. And by the way, it is worth noting, this is not a Rooney Rule checkbox. To comply with the Rooney Rule, you have to interview 2 external minority coaching candidates. He is internal. So for anyone thinking this is a Rooney Rule check the box, that is not the case. They are going to go through the process with him and interview him. So we'll see how that goes. If that leads to anything, I don't think he'll be the guy. I don't think he should be the guy. If the next guy wants to bring him back on staff, I'd be cool with that. I don't think that should be forced, but we'll see where it goes for him. And we'll see where things go from here. Whether you're watching this late Sunday night or early Sunday morning, 12 midnight, 1 a.m., whatever. If you're waking up and this is on your YouTube feed and watch, appreciate you guys for tuning in. And just thank you guys so much one more time. What a season. I'm grateful to do this. I have a very supportive wife and 20-month-old. He doesn't realize it, but he is supportive. But they mean everything to me, and their support means everything. Without them, I couldn't do this, and without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this, and the channel wouldn't grow. And I just hope this thing gets turned in the right direction because Bears fans deserve it. The loyalty this fan base has is unlike anything I've ever seen. So today was awesome, but as we all wake up on Monday morning, while you could still be happy that they beat the Packers, now the real work begins. It's about how do you get this coaching hire right and get the right direction and leadership for this football team right, because that is what matters moving forward. All right, I'm Harrison Graham. I got to go to bed. I feel like I've been working for 20 hours, which in some ways I have been. I'm signing off. Subscribe for more content. Off-season coverage begins starting tomorrow.